What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Wildcat Cave. I wanted to come on here and brag and stick my chest out about how Kentucky is now a force to be reckoned with and how we figured out the defensive problems, but here we are. Like I said in my last video, this team will give you the highest highs and the lowest lows. We've literally seen that this week with an improbable win at Auburn and a buzzer-beating loss against a barely 500 LSU. I don't know what it is about this team, but something just won't let me give up on them. In this video, we'll talk about what's happened this past week and what it'll take to beat Alabama, and I'll announce a giveaway. Alright guys, I promised you all a giveaway and I'm going to honor that. You guys have gotten this channel over 1,000 subscribers and I am extremely grateful for that, so I want to show my appreciation in a giveaway. So here are the details. First things first, to be entered you must be subscribed to the channel, and second, you must comment on this video. You can comment literally anything you want, and if you can do those two things, then you have a chance to win. The prize is going to be a Wildcat Cave t-shirt, a Kentucky tumbler, and some Wildcat Cave stickers. And who knows, I may throw in a few more things just to continue to show my appreciation. You all have grown this channel so much, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for every subscriber and every interaction I have on here. So I hope you'll not only enter the contest, but subscribe if you aren't already, and keep growing the channel. I will announce the winner next Wednesday, February 28th, on a live stream right here at 8:30 p.m. where we'll talk all things Kentucky basketball, SEC tournament seedings, NCAA tournament seedings, and more. I can't wait to see you all there and announce a winner. So first things first, I want to begin positive. Let's talk a little bit about the Auburn win. The biggest takeaway for I think most people about the Auburn win was our defense. We finally put together a full 40 minutes of defense. We've seen this team go halves or possessions or little spurts of really good defensive efforts and rebounding, but up until Auburn, we really haven't seen a whole game. Even in the Ole Miss game, there was some lapse in defense. But in this one, we did a great job defending a really, really good offensive team. This team got a ton of kills. I think 5 out of the 6 possessions in the first half were kills. If you don't know what a kill is, it's 3 defensive stops in a row. They call it that because it kills momentum. And it gives you a chance to either climb back into a game or really extend a lead, which is exactly what happened for Kentucky. And they got a ton against Auburn. A couple of things that I think really helped mainly was the rebounding effort, and our guards have started picking guys up 3/4 court instead of waiting for them to cross half court. I think that just really helps get them engaged, gets them focused, and not only that, but it eats some time off the clock for the offense as well. It was also a huge quad 1 victory, which is something that's been hard to come by for Kentucky. They only had 2 going into the game, so this makes a third. It's a huge resume builder. It really gives you a chance to not only give yourself a higher seed in the NCAA tournament. After that game, we were bumped up to the highest 5, lowest 4. So really putting yourself in the conversation for those top 4 seeds in the tournament. And you gave yourself a chance to win the SEC, which is something up until Auburn we kind of thought was a foregone conclusion wasn't happening. But with that win, you gave yourself at least a fighting chance to get maybe a share of the regular season SEC title. Also, we went into probably what is going to be the hardest environment of the season and pull out a win. We never let their crowd be involved. They were camped out and they were excited. Kentucky was coming to town. It was t-shirt night and everything else that Cal says. But we just never let them get into it. We led basically from the opening tip-off, jumped up to an 11-2 lead, and it was just honestly a textbook plan on how to handle an environment like that. Come out, throw the first punch, and never stop throwing the punches, and that's exactly what Kentucky did. They came out, they were the aggressor the entire game, they played their best defensive game by far, held Auburn to only 59 points, and again, Auburn is not just a team. They were a top 20 offensive team in the country. They had just put 101 points on South Carolina, who had one of the best defenses in the country. So this wasn't a team that couldn't score, but Kentucky came out, they made shots, and they shut Auburn down. Overall, a huge, huge win, or what could have had a massive impact on the season, on seeding, on the SEC standings, had Kentucky not done what they did last night against LSU. Now, speaking of LSU, there's a lot of problems here. One of them, though, I don't think is a problem, was the defense. Let's be honest, we held them to 75 points. We even moved up in the KenPom net rankings in defensive efficiency. We went from 81st to 77th, which isn't a huge jump, but in a losing effort, I'll take any sort of jump up we get. Now, again, I saw a lot of people complaining about our defense, and I just don't think that is what cost us the game against LSU. In the past 3 games of LSU, Auburn, and Ole Miss, we have a top 5 defense in the country, and overall in the season in road games, we have a top 50. It seems though like we have an inverse relationship with our offense and defense. The better our defense gets, the worse our offense gets. And of course, some of that's attributed to when you have good defense, possessions are extended, you go later in the shot clock, you may not get as many turnovers. So those transition points kind of go away, which could lead to you not scoring as much. But it seems like it's almost too much. Like we're playing, I don't want to say too good of defense because that's kind of ridiculous for how we played this year. But we're doing too much to where it's starting to hinder our offense, and that's something we just can't afford. Our offense is our best asset, and we showed against LSU that we can have scoring droughts even though we are one of the more high-powered offenses in college basketball. But one of the problems, or one of the things that lead to the scoring drought is just missed layups and missed dunks, and how many shots can one team miss around the rim? I don't know what it is. DJ was awful around the rim. We had multiple layups and dunk attempts that just didn't go. It's really kind of baffling how a team of such good players can miss so many layups. Reeves, his shot even went cold, and he's been absolutely perfect with those floaters all season long. And then later in the second half, he just kind of couldn't find his shot anymore. The little 5 to 10 foot floaters he normally hits were just bouncing off the rim. And I've never seen a team miss so many shots within 5 foot. Now overall, I think we made winning plays, which is one of the reasons that game is so frustrating to us, the fans. Not only were we up 15 in the second half, but Rob hit the game winner that I didn't think he would hit. So far this season, every time we've had a chance to tie or take a lead late in a game, I just had this pit in my stomach saying, whatever we do here is not going to be good. And I think Stephen Peak and I talked about it a few games ago, is just how the number of game-winning attempts we've had versus how many we've hit, and the number is crazy. Like, we just don't hit those recently. And Rob hit it last night. And then, not only did he hit it, we came down on the other end when they had the chance to win, and Adu got the game-winning, what should have been the game-winning block. And of course, the freak play happens and you lose, but you should have never been in that situation. We were up 15 in the second half. We should have never allowed them to claw their way back into the game, and that tip-in should have never happened. Now, kind of on a side note here, I want to say this, and I've mentioned this before, but what is this SEC officiating? The NCAA or SEC or somebody needs to get control of these officials. They're making ridiculous calls. There's too many reviews. We're stopping. They stopped the game 1,000 times, it seemed like, in the second half, and neither team was ever able to get in a rhythm because of it. And then you have the goaltending thing, which we've seen 100 times this year, and the cylinder rules. First off, those rules are just bad rules, and they're not officiated consistently anywhere. So I had to say that, and I had to get that out of the way. The officiating isn't what cost us the game against LSU, but it's just so frustrating watching a game, and no one can get in a rhythm. It's not enjoyable to watch. Games are taking 2.5 hours because we're reviewing everything, and we're taking points off. Y'all get it. You guys get my point. Now, the lucky shot at the end, it's starting to have that Kentucky football feel of how many ways can we lose a game. We used to always think that in football when we stunk, but no matter how big of a lead you had or how close the end of the game was, you just always felt like we were going to find a way to lose, and that's kind of how last night's game felt. The first half online, we all kind of agreed it felt weird. Something about the game felt weird. We went from everybody scoring to a really long scoring drive for both teams, and then we go on a 10-0 run to end the half, and it was just a weird game all the way around. But that lucky shot at the end, Adu blocks it, and if that dude just isn't standing there or is out of bounds or just doesn't make a clean pass or he misses the tip-in, we're not talking about it in this way, but that's what happens. There's such a razor-thin margin of success and failure in all sports, but specifically this game. You just can't afford to find ways to lose when you have the game won. And on just a bigger picture thing, this is just not excusable. This is not Kentucky basketball, what we've seen. 8, 9, 10 lost seasons doesn't happen at Kentucky. It shouldn't happen at Kentucky. Now, on the micro, I don't blame Calipari for this game necessarily. I thought, for the most part, he wasn't out-coached or out-schemed in any way. Shots didn't fall, and then even when we made game-winning plays, we lost. But to zoom out a little bit on a broader spectrum, there's too much of a talent gap to lose games like this. Our players and our staff and our facilities and our everything is so much better than LSU's. There's no way we should walk into a game like that and lose. And maybe games like this happen. You lose the occasional road SEC game late on a Wednesday night. I get that. But in the grand scheme of things, here in the past 4 or 5 years, there has just been too many losses like this, and that is where it does fall on John Calipari. Now, in this game, we had a lot of really good performances, but some really bad ones as well. We had DJ Wagner and Reed just almost be a non-factor, and we'll start with DJ. He played 21 minutes, had exactly the same amount of points as I did here in Kentucky. Absolutely, I mean, I know 21 minutes isn't a lot for a guy who's supposed to be an NBA pick and starts and all of that stuff, but you can't play 21 minutes as a starting guard and end up with 0 points. Something with his shot is just broken. He is 0 of 11 for his last 11 three-point attempts. He hasn't hit one in I don't know how many games it's been now, and they're not close. They're clunking off the backboard, off the side of the rim. It's not like they're rattling in and out. It's just been bad, and over the last 5 games, DJ has averaged 4 points a game. That's just not good enough, to be honest with you. If this, I've said it all year, we're only going as far as DJ Wagner can take us in the tournament, and 4 points a game, 0 of 11 from 3, and being basically a non-factor just isn't going to get it done. Now for Reed Sheppard, on the other hand, I know he had a 20-point game a couple games ago, but kind of recently he's been almost more of a liability. He's averaging 3 turnovers a game, which is a little bit more than the steals he's getting, and he just ball watches on defense. For every good thing he does turning the ball over, he costs you that on the defensive end. And I know I'm going to get pushback on this because he's a Kentucky kid and, you know, he's everybody in Kentucky's favorite player, but he is just starting to become really bad on defense. He's a great off-the-ball defender, and he has great hands, and he can get his hands on passes and dribbles and all that stuff, but he ball watches and just completely leaves his man. Go back and watch the tape. It happens all the time. Those two dudes, DJ specifically, Reed, you know, he's shown that he can contribute a little bit recently, but DJ has been just a non-factor in some of these games, and we have to have him play good. Antonio Reeves also just needs more help. He is the only consistent player we have. I love Rob, and Rob is great, and he was great again last night, but he's just streaky. He was unplayable in the first half, and then will go for 21 points in 10 minutes. We have 4 guards on this team, and we have to have at least 2 or 3 of them be consistently good every night. Reeves has shown that he can do that. I don't think we'll ever have a night where all 4 guys are playing bad, but on nights like last night against LSU, we can't just have Reeves be consistent and then Rob be streaky. You have to have another constant in there, and it doesn't have to be an 18 or 21 point night, but a guard that can get you 10, 12-ish on a night-in, night-out basis. And normally we have that, but again, like it seems, the better our defense gets, the worse some of our guards have gotten. I don't know why that is, but it has to get fixed. Because we're having all of these great performances, you know, and we're setting all of these records, and they're all for naught, and they're all going to get forgotten. Last night, Reed became the first player in UK history to record 5 steals in 3 consecutive games. Did you know that?
Did you know that?
Probably not, because we lost, and it'll be forgotten to history. Now, you might have recognized that Reeves got his 1,000th point as a Wildcat, which is awesome, and I would have loved to come on here and celebrate how great that dude is, because he is that great, and he should be an All-American, hashtag All-American Antonio, but it's in a losing effort, so it's going to get overlooked. Rob has had now 2 massive breakout, solidifying himself as a top 5 draft pick games, and both are in losing efforts. He had 35 in a loss, and then last night he goes for 21 or 23, whatever he had in a loss. And it's games like that we should be celebrating, and we should be coming on here and be like, man, these guys are special, and they're going to go on this huge run. But right now, it's just not. And I'm sure I'm missing even more of these. Leave the ones I'm missing down in the comments. But it just seems like we're wasting all of these great players and great efforts on losses. Now, in the big picture, this loss makes a double bye in the SEC tournament extremely hard. When we beat Auburn, we had a legit possibility. Like, the gap between 1 and 4 was razor thin, and we could have very easily jumped up to that 1, maybe 2 mark in the SEC, and now we're teetering on 5 or 6, and it makes not playing on Thursday in Nashville extremely difficult. And even bigger than that, like I mentioned, we almost are assured not to get a top 4 seed unless we, maybe win out and then win the SEC tournament or something like that. But we are almost for sure not getting a top 4 seed, which means in the first round we're playing a team that can beat us, and in the second round we're playing a team that's had a better season than us, and we're going to have to go upset them. And then it just puts that much more pressure on this team, even though it's not necessarily their fault that we've stunk the past 5 years. But whatever pressure this team had going in, with each loss, that pressure just builds. And on top of that, it makes Saturday's game against Bama a must-win. Now, to beat Bama, which I think this team can do, especially at home, Bama's been really good at home, even though Florida did just take them down to the wire. But in Rupp, we should beat Bama. First off, we're Kentucky. We shouldn't lose in Rupp. I don't care who comes in there. Now, this team's proven me otherwise. But we should be able to beat Bama at home. We just have to continue playing good defense, but maintain that offense that we had. Alabama's scoring 85 points a game against SEC teams. So we have to be able to create offense. Our defense has gotten better, but it is not good enough to shut them down completely, I don't think. I said that about Auburn too, but they did it, so we'll see. But our offense has to be able to maintain, 80-something points a game while still playing as good of a defense as we are right now. And we can't go on scoring droughts like we did against LSU. They have some really good players, a potential SEC Player of the Year in Mark Sears. If we can just contain Sears, don't let him go crazy, kind of like we did with Dalton Connect at Tennessee, then we have a chance. But unlike what we did at Tennessee, we have to keep their anonymous players anonymous. If you don't know their name right now going into the game, let's keep it that way after the game. Don't let their anonymous players go for 30 and beat you, even if you hold Sears in check. Do the little things right. Keep the anonymous players anonymous. Don't let Sears go for 50 on you, and you have a chance to really win, and then maybe we buy back in again and get let down, and this cycle just continues. But you can definitely beat this team. Another big thing is don't get down to them. Like I said, Alabama is a front-running team. They play their best when they have a big lead and shots are falling and they're in transition, kind of like Kentucky, but we can't fall into their trap. We have to dictate the pace. We have to dictate how the game goes from start to finish. Now, one really big advantage can be Reed creating turnovers. They average about 12 a game, which is bottom tier in the SEC. And by bottom, I mean they give up more than most people in the SEC, but they also create a lot. So if we can, create turnovers and limit our own, then I think the game really favors Kentucky. Now, overall, Kentucky continues to make their path to a successful March much harder. But we've seen time and time again that this team can hang with literally anybody in the country. Going into every season, Kentucky, in my opinion, should have 3 goals. The regular season SEC title, the tournament SEC title, and then, of course, the national title. And before the LSU game, they had a chance at the regular season SEC title. But now that is likely gone away. We still have the 2 other goals ahead of us, but it is kind of getting hard to be super optimistic for either when we continue to drop games that we just have no business losing. I will ride with this team until the wheels fall off, but I hope things turn around soon and we make a deep run in March. That is going to wrap up this video, guys. Make sure you're subscribed and comment below to enter the giveaway. And tune in next Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. where we will announce the winner and, of course, talk about the Alabama and Mississippi State games. I'll see you guys then. Go Cats!